last week we actually addressed Chrissy Teigen and John Legend's outreach to the world, really.
Mm-hmm.
And I know specifically John had sung his song at the Billboard Awards, so we talked about that,
Mm-hmm.
and even Chrissy's initial response of "This is where I'm coming from."
Mm-hmm.
And this last week, she actually came out with a lot more in depth,
Yes.
like an essay or post, a blog
Mm-hmm.
post.
Yeah, she wrote on medium.com about her experience with losing their son, Jack. And she addressed a couple of things. And if you are following social media and some of the other pregnancy and infant loss organizations, you probably may have seen this particular quote um, shared on social media quite a bit, but it addresses the people that criticized her for
Mm-hmm.
sharing so openly and for posting photos so quickly after the loss of their son. And I just need to say that it is such a powerful statement. And I'm just going to read it. I cannot express, this is Chrissy, how little I care that you hate the photos, how little I care that it's something you wouldn't have done. I lived it, I chose to do it. And further on, she goes, these photos are only for the people who need them, and the thoughts of others do not matter to me. And it's such a powerful statement. And I think what she's doing is so great for many of us that are grieving in silence. She, by her being so open, she's allowing other people to know that they can grieve openly as well. Further on in her essay or blog, she writes that she feels bad. I feel bad our grief was so public because I made the joy so public.
Mm-hmm.
Um, she was excited to share the news with the world, and she writes, I feel bad that I made you all feel bad. I always will.
Mm-hmm.
And part of me right away wanted to respond to her and say, please don't feel bad. But I
Right.
can totally relate to what she's saying. I think our tendency as a society is that we immediately want to make a person not feel bad when they're hurting.
Right.
But we also need to
Almost
allow.
like taking on part of their pain and
Mm-hmm.
suffering. I think especially that stands out when people say, "I'm so sorry, I'm so sorry." It's like, well, you
Yeah.
had nothing to do with it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
But
like you didn't cause it.
right. So I can totally identify with what she was feeling when sharing about the loss of their son.
Mm.
And I love what she said. And then the next paragraph, she goes, I beg you to please share your stories and to be kind to those pouring their hearts out. Be kind in general, as some won't pour them out at all.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that is just such a beautiful thing to say out loud to the millions, or I don't know how many people are followers, thousands of people that follow her,
Yeah.
that we need to be open to expressing our own grief, but then also be open to allowing others to express their own grief.
Mm-hmm.
And if they're not wanting to share that, then that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
Just supporting them wherever they're at. And I think we need to become more of a society that we're okay with sharing each other's burdens. So I just
Mm-hmm.
really applaud Chrissy for addressing that. She didn't have to by any means,
Mm-hmm.
but she took time to just to say that we need to be okay
Mm-hmm.
with sharing our losses and sharing our burdens with each other.
Yeah.
And I just appreciate what she's doing for the pregnancy and infant loss community, and just opening that door for many others that who are maybe are grieving in silence because
Right.
they can't share or they feel it like they can't.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And we kind of talked about this when putting together, the buckets for what we wanted to talk about in today's podcast. We talked about the first comment where she says, "I could care less." Right? I
Mm-hmm.
cannot express how little I care
Right.
that you hate the photos.
Right.
And I know the paragraph before that, she actually
Mm-hmm.
talks about she asked
was
John
John.
and her mom.
Mm-hmm.
I believe it was her mom and John were in the room with her, and she asked both of them to pick up, their phones, pick up their cameras, and to start documenting. And she specifically said that John was hesitant.
Yeah.
To whatever level or degree, I don't recall. But I think she was more specific than that, so I'm being a little vague. But he was hesitant, and it's almost like this very next paragraph. It's almost like she's speaking to that hesitancy,
Mm-hmm.
And that could go both ways, right? It could go. She could be speaking directly to John, or not just John, but those like John that are gonna feel this way, like that, like not necessarily embracing it right away because they're just uncomfortable
Mm-hmm.
with it, or it doesn't seem like it's a good idea. And I'll be honest, it brushed me a little bit the wrong way. There's obviously some strong feelings and emotions here,
Mm-hmm.
and she's like, I don't give a rat, right? I don't care. But what I like how she put it into context at the end of the day. She said this is for people who have lived it and those who are curious about it.
Yeah.
So I mean, at the end of the day, I realize and I understand where she's coming from. It does feel like there's a mix of emotions and feelings as these new experiences are happening with them, and not that it's all over the place, but that she's expressing a lot.
Right.
And then the last thing, just saying that she feels the grief so publicly. She feels bad for our grief being so public because I made the joy so public. So it's like, once you make that announcement that your baby's coming and you tell everyone and you announce it, it's hard not to want to go back to them and let them know what happened.
Right. Yeah.
And I think that's tough, and it can definitely, you can definitely feel like you're putting a downer or a damper on other people's lives. But I don't think, at the end of the day, I don't think it is a negative thing to share your grief.
I mean, and this could go on to a whole other topic of whether people, why people wait till the after the first trimester to announce their pregnancy.
I think that's where my mind was going too.
And because, miscarriage
they
happens.
had no idea.
Yeah. And I think it's just a matter of, we are excited right now. We are excited that we are pregnant. We are expecting a baby. And then, of course, we don't anticipate that we're going to lose the baby. So when that happens, I mean, there's all that mixed emotions. And then, of course, you're going to have to let people know.
And the last thing I would say, too, is I think she really, sorry to cut you off.
No, it's okay.
Okay. Yeah. But her celebrity, I mean, it's so obvious that she's going to get way more attention, positive and otherwise, than any of us would ever receive. So I love how she just normalizes it and says, the worst part is knowing that there's so many women that won't get these moments in the grocery store when people pass them notes or come up and say, we love you or we care about you. You're not necessarily going to get that because you're unknown. You're a shadow compared to her celebrity, right?
Yeah.
And she says, I beg you to please share your stories and please to be kind to those pouring out their hearts. So there's a time and place for everything, and we need to give people that are grieving the space to do that.
Yeah.
And that's great. That's awesome. Well, if you guys are getting value out of this, we're so thankful that you're joining us. We would just encourage you to subscribe to our channel. Make sure you ring the bell and so you get those alerts when new episodes come out. Just remember that, if you subscribe to the channel and you give us a thumbs up on episodes, it's going to help to spread the awareness that in the pregnancy and infant loss community that there are resources like ours on YouTube. And it's something that's kind of an unknown, but growing, definitely. And if you've got questions or you have comments, we definitely encourage you down below. There's obviously the section to write comments, and you can put anything you want in there if you have questions or you want to share. Part of your story about the holiday season. We want to hear from you. We want to read your comments and your questions below, and we do answer them. We definitely include that in our community of being on YouTube and wanting to have conversations with parents. If you are interested in watching other weekly podcast episodes, go ahead and click or tap on the image above and you'll access our whole library. We, I believe, are up to 27. This is episode 27. So we have 27 podcast episodes. If you want to dive deeper and go into our pregnancy journey, we do have a grief series. It's from the birth to the death of your baby and beyond, or from diagnosis to the death of your baby and beyond. We do have that playlist as well, and you can click or tap on the link below. Thanks so much. We'll talk to you later.
Bye.
Bye.